Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and in this video I want to talk to you about the importance of surrounding yourself with high quality people. Now, I'm going to start with what I think is one of the most popular and overused quotes in the personal development industry, and that's the Jim Rohn quote. It says that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Now, maybe you've heard that, maybe you haven't. Either way, I want to, get you to kind of pause for a second and ask the question, who are the 5 people that I spend the most time with? Right? Because this quote says that you're the average, and they've done a study on this. So you're the average in health, you're the average in wealth. So if you average the salary of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, it'll average out and you'll probably be near the middle, right? From a health perspective, from a wealth perspective, from a faith perspective. If you think about kind of the whole wheel of life, are you surrounding yourself with people that are really challenging you and really making you the best version of yourself? Now, that's the popular quote. I want to break this down a little bit further, and I think you're going to really love this. So this is something I learned from one of my mentors. His name's Adam Carroll, and he breaks people down into 4 buckets. And so number 1, you've got adders. Number 2, you've got multipliers. Number 3, you've got subtractors. And number 4, you've got dividers. Okay, so let's break down each one of those. So first things first, adders. These are people who are positive, they're good influence, they look out for you, they help you out. They're people who make your life better, right? Maybe you've had that friend or family member, when you spend time with them, you leave energized, you leave inspired to go do bigger and better things, right? So that's an adder. Second one is multipliers. So multipliers are all those things of an adder, but they proactively, they'll look out for you. They'll say, hey, I've got a buddy who has a job for you, or maybe I've got this startup I want you to be a part of. So they'll multiply your success by looking out for you, sending opportunities your way, proactively helping you get better, challenging you, holding you accountable even when it's tough, all those things, right? Now on the flip side, there's subtractors. So these are people who are negative. They probably watch the news a lot. They're probably complaining about politics and complaining in general about anything and everything. And oftentimes when you leave spending time with these people, these are what some people would call energy vampires, right? So they suck the life out of you. You leave and you're like, whoo, wow, life is not good. It's rough out there. and so it just really brings down your energy. And then there's the divider, which is all those things of a subtractor, but they actually actively look to undercut your success. Maybe this is a jealous boss, a jealous coworker, maybe a jealous ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, someone who actively goes out of their way to sabotage your success. Or it might even be a well-intentioned family member that says, hey, you'll never be good enough, right? Who do you think that you can do this? Who are you to do this, right? So we've got adders, multipliers, subtractors, and dividers. Now, the question that I would like for you to ask is, of those 5 people that you just thought about, which bucket do they fall in? Right? And so maybe we can expand this to the 10 people that you spend the most time with. Which bucket do those 10 people fall into? And then also, really the biggest kind of equation that we're trying to do here is, do you have more adders and multipliers, or do you have more subtractors and dividers? And then if you have a lot of subtractors and dividers, how do you reduce the time that you spend with those folks? Or how do you cut them out of your life? Right? Now that sounds really harsh, and I want to get practical for a minute because I think this is really important. So I want to get practical on the positive side, and then I'll get practical kind of on the more negative side. So on the positive side, how do you up-level your network, right? How do you spend time with more successful people who really challenge you? One of the mantras that I try to live by is, I want to be the dumbest person in any room that I'm in, right? Maybe you've heard the quote, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And it feels good for your ego, trust me. It feels great. I'm like, man, I'm a genius. All these people are listening to me. They think I'm smart, all those things, right? But it's not helping me get better. So what I try to always do is up-level my network, up-level the people that I surround myself with. Now, very practically what that looks like, I decided to drop out of school when I realized I was learning how to run a business from professors who had never ran a business. That didn't make too much sense to me. So I dropped out and I moved into an entrepreneur house in Des Moines, Iowa. That really helped kickstart my growth. I moved in with someone who ran a business that I was learning from. It was this online course, and I moved in with him, learned a bunch from him. Then, and I have this happen all the time, I have kind of this comfort meter where whenever I get too comfortable in a situation, it's like, woo, woo, I gotta move. Like, I gotta shake this thing up. Otherwise, I'm gonna just start getting complacent. So then I moved to San Diego. I started an entrepreneur house there. So this was a house, there was 5 of us all running online businesses. We had weekly masterminds, we had accountability challenges, we would hold each other accountable to our goals, really up-leveled my network. Right? And so it's funny, this house has actually since been written up in entrepreneur.com. There's multiple of them. And I created this kind of thing that helped me surround myself with more successful people, which, oh, by the way, this was hard to do. The house didn't create itself, but I knew that it'd be worth it. And then once again, my comfort meter started going off. Life was very good in San Diego. The weather was really good. The beaches were great, but it was getting complacent. Everyone said, hey, Chandler, you've made it. Here's a surfboard. There's the beach. It's 6 o'clock. You should have stopped working like 5 hours ago. Why are you working so hard? Right? And so for me, I knew that's a sign I got to move. So I moved to San Francisco, which is where I live right now as I'm recording this video. And it's just it's been a game changer. So I always say that San Diego is kind of lifestyle entrepreneurs who are looking to make 6 figures and chill on the beach. And then San Francisco is world-changing entrepreneurs who want to scale 100 million in the billion-dollar company and change the world, right? Different things, and sure, there's phases of life where this phase of life, once I have kids, all that stuff, I'm probably gonna be way more attracted to the San Diego lifestyle. But where I'm at and what I'm prioritizing for, which is growth, currently, this makes sense. So I've just kind of showed you very practically how to up-level my network. And what I've found is a lot of people talk about this quote, not a lot of people actually put their money where their mouth is, right? Obviously, I'm like the most extreme example of this, where I've moved, which isn't feasible for everyone. I understand that. It also isn't preferable for everyone probably, but what are the proactive steps that you can take like that? So go to conferences, go to meetups, things like that to really up-level your network. So that's on the positive side. Now, what about the negative side? How do you reduce or diminish time with subtractors or dividers? Now, if they're a divider, obviously you need to cut them out of your life. That's not someone you want in your life. If they're a subtractor, then you need to figure out, is this a relationship that is meaningful enough to me to keep it long-term? And if it is, then you got to try to make it better. I would prefer and I would suggest that you cut that person out of your life, but I realize that's not always feasible. So if you can't cut the person out of your life, and because a lot of times people say, oh, but this subtractor, they're family members, right? Or maybe I'm married to them, or they're people in my life that are family, right? And so that's a really great point. And what I would say to that is this. So there's kind of one of the concepts I heard was kind of an energy stop sign, which is no negativity zone. And so for detractors, a lot of time, this is the best way to improve the situation is to be a positive influence on them. But that can only go so far sometimes. Sometimes you just have to set clear boundaries. And so just say, hey, I've chosen to not have my life be like this and involve negativity. So this is a no negativity zone. You can have a literal stop sign that says no negativity zone. I think someone's popularized that concept, but you can have that, and that keeps that, or you just have to have difficult conversations. So I'll give you one specific example, and then I'll wrap the video. So I remember recently I had a family member who was just kind of negative when I would come home. And so I would come home and it would be negative and I would not be enjoying myself. I'd be getting this guilt trip that I wasn't doing such and such, or I haven't called in a while, or just things like that. And so it finally got to the point where I was actually not wanting to come home because of this. And I said, well, I don't want to not want to come home. I want to come home and see my family. So I just need to have a boundary setting conversation. So I spoke to the person. I said, hey, I've structured myself or my life in a way where just there's no negativity in my life, and I've cut that out of my life. This is really a draining for me. I don't appreciate getting a guilt trip every time that I come home. And you've asked me before why I don't want to come home. Well, this is it. So this exact circumstance is why I don't want to come home. So we either need to fix this, or I'm just going to not want to come home, and I'll either come home less, or just, I'm just not going to accept this level of negativity and getting guilt trips. This is really a drain. And I come here for vacation. I come here to recharge. This is not that. right? And so I had a very frank discussion, but then what happened is I said, got it. Okay. Well, I want to see this person more often, and I love this person. So I realized the person realized, hey, I need to change the way I'm showing up, right? And then in the process, their life was changed, or at least improved a little bit. My interactions were improved, and I was able to keep that person in my life. So that's kind of at a big picture, how to kind of get and keep high quality relationships, and really why it's so important. You are the average of the 5 people in your life. So I'd love for you to think and reflect on this. Who are the 5, maybe even 10 closest people in your life? Are they adders, subtractors, dividers, or multipliers? And then what do you need to do about that to up-level your network? So I'd love for you to think on this. As always, comment below the video. Let me know what you think. Maybe don't tag the person that is a subtractor or a divider. Maybe you can tag the person who's an adder or a multiplier and say, hey, I appreciate you. You are that for me. And you can let them know, maybe send them this video, let them know that they've had a positive impact on you. But go ahead and do that. Comment below this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. See ya.